one of the tweets that you mentioned, one of the many tweets that I highlighted this week was this whole idea of conflicts between business partners are never solved by compromises.
Yes.
Help me understand that a little bit, because that kind of leads to some of the business relationships that I want to get into with you.
Yeah, conflicts between not only business partners, but any relationship. If you compromise, what happens, it's never 50-50, right? Because if each person compromises, then what they have left after they have compromised is just a shell of who they are. Mm-hmm. And therefore the relationship is the king. I don't think the relationship should be the king. Because if the relationship is the king, then that means there's no people. It's just a relationship. So that which you compromise away, you will resent for having been forced to compromise away. So it isn't about compromise. It's about uncompromise. And that doesn't mean what it sounds like it means. Uncompromised does not mean that this is just the way that I feel and too bad. Mm-hmm. Well, each person has to reach their non-negotiables. Each person has to arrive at the thing they cannot do or cannot keep from doing. Because if they do that or keep from doing that, whatever that thing may be, then they lose their center, they lose their foundation. They lose their essence. They lose the very thing that drives them. They lose their engine, whatever that may be. So it is about finding what the non-negotiables are. It is about finding what the uncompromisables are, as opposed to compromising for the sake of. That only leads to problems. That doesn't fix anything. And so when two people say that, when each person says in the relationship that these are the things that I'm hard lined on, because it's not in a superfluous way, but this is truly in my DNA, and I can't cross that line, nor would you want me to cross it, because if I crossed it, I wouldn't be the person that you want to be in business with, because that's my DNA. And when those lines are set, then what can be compromised on are the things that you hold loosely. So the things that you compromise on are the things that you don't really care about. You don't compromise on the things about who you are. So I think these things have to be worked out, and these things have to be put on the table. And I think that when you look at things in this manner, it is a fundamentally different approach than it is to say, I'll give a little if you give a little. That doesn't go anywhere. That's empty.
And I really appreciate that. And I assume the best time to establish that is at the outset of a relationship.
Maybe not. I mean, at the outset of a relationship, a person may not know what his DNA is, Mm-hmm. So it's whenever the person discovers the uncompromising DNA and the lines that he is not willing to cross. And I think that's when that conversation can be had. Everything has to be based upon honesty, not for moral good. I don't give 2 cents about moral good. Honesty, because honesty works. That's why. If honesty didn't work, I would recommend dishonesty all day and all week. But honesty works. Honesty creates something within the heart of the human being which engenders him to him. It allows for a solid foundation upon which to build things, for anything of any lasting value to occur. And human beings are not really taught to be honest. They're taught to be clever. They're taught to do X, Y, and Z. They're taught to do this and don't do that. they're not really taught to be frank and forthright. Everything in society is a flinch and a beating around the bush, and they don't step on that toe and don't say that too loudly, and it doesn't mean that you do the exact opposite, because that also would be reactive. Mm-hmm. But it's about moving forward with honesty. How do you really feel about this? No one's honest with themselves. Everyone's a liar.
And as a society, we hail clever. Like anybody
Absolutely.
who's clever, it's like, Absolutely. Wow, he's on the cover of magazines.
That's right.
Or she's on the cover of magazines.
Yeah.
If two business partners are at this relationship crisis mode where each thinks their contribution is disproportionate to the other, is it too late to have this uncompromising conversation?
I mean, it's never too late to have the conversation. No. The resentments might have built to a point where it's too late to mend them. Mm-hmm. But it's never too late to have the conversation, even if it is to discover that very fact.
That it's too much to fix.
Right.
And do you, when you think about these non-negotiables or the key things that I'm unwilling to compromise on, do you have a general rule of how many of these things? You don't want me to make a list of 50, right? Are they the absolute essential things that I'm unwilling to compromise on?
Yeah, it really is an intellectual. It's really feel and essence. So it's not really a number, but it really comes down to the things that you feel in your heart that you just can't do or can't not do.